Give them nothing, but take from them everything.
And welcome back to the Metal Hand of God podcast. I am your host, Wayne, and you know that fine gentleman over there as...
the Rum Guy.
There you go. Today we have a very special guest. The man, the myth, the legend, Major Grunge is on our show. What's up, dude?
Nothing much, just chilling on a Sunday.
Isn't that nice? It's like kind of like a mellow day today.
It is. Actually, over here, I'm in Tennessee, Nashville. We have like a crazy storm peeling through, but, you know, just kind of pretending like it isn't outside.
Well,
it's like
sucks.
a little bunker here in the COVID shelter apartment.
Yeah, well, welcome to the new world order. Everybody's in our homes, stranded, you know, stuck in there doing what you got to do.
Yep.
How's the world been treating you with all this going on?
Honestly, my lifestyle hasn't changed a lot. Like, especially for the past couple of years. Like, ever since I went off to school, I was like working, going to school at the same time. So like in all my free time, I was usually just like at home resting because I was so exhausted. And then once I started working and creating content, I just started like my workaholism kind of took over for a while. So I've been spending a lot of time indoors for a while, honestly. And, you know, for better or worse.
Sure.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Has prepared me for this whole situation. So.
Well, before we really start delving into all this stuff, why don't you explain to the people on the world who the hell you are? Because people are going to be like, who's Major Grunge? And there you go.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. You know, I'm honestly, I've been creating content for about a year, and my main platform is Twitch.tv, which is, you know, a live streaming service that for most of its life has been like very closely tied to video games, and it still very much is. But what I create, I still work with video games every now and then, but I've become part of a sort of a, I don't know exactly what to call it. There's a group of people I stream with on a team, but there's more people than that. People that are doing stuff on Twitch that's more in line with the kind of entertainment you might see on, you know, television or Netflix, like a you know, an entertainment production of some sort. And it has still like this live twist on it. But yeah, so I mean, I guess the way I describe myself when I stream is that I try and put on this almost like variety showcase, some sort of cabaret. You know, I'll do little improv comedy bits. I have various characters and storylines I play out. I'm a big fan of talking like philosophy, and so I mix that in sometimes. You know, sometimes we just talk and discuss those things. And so I just like bring a bunch of these things that I really enjoy and try and turn it into some kind of cohesive entertainment production.
Nice. It's kind of like independent live TV. Like an indie live TV right there, you know?
I definitely see it very much as like sort of an independent, like almost DIY pursuit. Right. I'm a big fan of Black Flag and 80s punk rock, so that whole DIY ethos has always been something I've had a strong affinity towards.
Huge fan. What you were going to say, Rum? I heard you was about to say something, man.
Oh yeah, I was going to say you were talking philosophy, or there's a philosophy you're interested in it. Is it something you went to school for? Is this personal life philosophy? How does that play into what you do?
So a little bit of both, honestly, because like I did actually go to school for philosophy. I went to school at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville with philosophy focusing on ethics, and I got into a lot of deep philosophy there. But it kind of like stoked my interest for it. I didn't even know I was into it before that. But once I started like studying it, I found more and more philosophers that I was interested in that weren't necessarily part of the curriculum.
Sure.
And so I started like trading books at my local used bookstore and then using the credit to buy like more philosophy books. And that's how I got into like Kierkegaard and Camus and some other like stuff that I found really interesting.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting balance there when you're talking about the philosophy end of it. You're talking about, you know, I guess there's philosophy in entertainment. People find that.
Oh yes.
You know, I mean, I think there's maybe a lack of people thinking about philosophy anymore. They're the cause and effect of everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of unfortunate how devalued it has become. Just because I don't know, I see it as this like grand dialogue throughout human history of like the relaying of concepts and ideas. It's been going on since like ever, and I just feel like it's such a great pursuit that it's a shame that it's not more, or I don't know if it's necessarily easily accessible, but yeah, I definitely feel like some of the humanities majors, I mean, you know, they can be kind of hit or miss, and I have a lot of problems with the college system, but I do think you can learn a lot of valuable lessons from it.
Do you think, would you say the college system would be more, does it have more blinders on, do you think? Do you think of the curriculum maybe designed to just show you a one-sided aspect of it other than multiple choice, basically life is a choose your own adventure. So
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Do you think it's more, I don't know how to word it. Help me out, Wayne. Is it more,
Hold on, let me think in your brain. I'm not really sure what you're going for there, buddy.
well, I'm trying to say, do you think the college system is more geared towards just teaching one sort of aspect just over and over and over and over again, not giving basically freedom of choice to
Not
the people they're
exploring
teaching?
everything else, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I
Would you say
think,
that?
I mean, realistically, I think it's almost like a structural issue. So, like one of the doctrines of philosophy I'm interested in is post-structuralism, and I think that so much of like our education system has been designed to put people on like the kind of classic industrial era path to success, where like you get educated, learn a quote unquote valuable skill, get a valuable position in your workforce, and like work for like a some sort of company or corporation for a long time, and get benefits, retire, etc. But like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that like not everyone I feel like works in that capacity, and like some people are meant to go out and maybe create, or some people are meant to go out and start their own business, or some people just like I don't know, have a completely different pursuit that like the education system we have doesn't satisfy very well.
I agree with that. I
Yeah.
think the education system kind of
It's broken.
stifles creativity a lot of times. I really gotta admit to that for sure. I mean, I think the idea of doing things creatively on your own, as you said, start your own business or things like that. I think a lot of times people look at that and go, it's not, it's not the normal way of doing things, so it can't be good. You better actually think of something else to do. And I never really cared for that type of thinking.
So basically, you'd be saying is more. It's more along the lines of you better go to school and learn these things because you can't start your own business. That's stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's how it was presented to me. It was more or less like if you don't go to college, like that's it. That's the only way you could ever be successful or hope to be like well off. And I just don't think that's really true.
No,
I
not
just
at all.
think the other roads aren't talked about often enough.
It's
Sometimes
because
those are infinitely more fulfilling.
it's the
What-
money,
what-
man. They want to push it so you can spend the money to go to the school. That's basically what most of it is.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of it, because that certainly isn't getting any cheaper.
No, hell no. That's crazy. The school's ridiculous. And when my kid, who is 4 now, decides he wants to go to school, I'm going to tell him, you better get a job, because by that time
Or a
it's gonna,
scholarship.
yeah, by that time it's going to be, $80,000 a semester. It's going to be retarded.
Dude, I was paying like 40 grand a semester when I was going.
That was at in Savannah, huh?
Yeah, it's SCAD.
Yeah.
Oh, SCAD. No way. I've been up in Savannah many times. And Jacksonville is where I went to school and lived for a long time. And we'd travel to Savannah all the time because it's not like too far.
No, that's a great town. Super cool town.
I definitely liked it a lot. Because of SCAD, there's a lot of cool and art pursuits going on in the city as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's changing like every year, something new. It's constantly in a rotation of reinvention all the time, which I really dig.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see that.
Yeah.
But
I had been. Oh, sorry. Well, I'm perfectly happy to go to the next question, but I often wished I had went to I wasn't even presented like creative pursuits or art pursuits or like content creation or anything as like an option.
Really?
All the schools I had growing up. Yeah, I mean, I did have art programs in elementary school, and then shortly after that, I got put into like just different programs that were supposed to be like engineering me towards like a science or mathematic field, and I didn't like either of those. But that was the profitable career field to get into. Like STEM jobs.
Well, that sucks, man, because that seems like you weren't given an option to do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way, honestly. But it was just like everyone around me and all the schools and stuff were like, "This is what you need to do. You need to do chemistry." And I was like, maybe I want to try out art. And I was like, nah, like you shouldn't do that. And then finally got through 3 years of school, and when I actually started finding success in was like the creative pursuits. And I was just like, man, I wish I had started sooner.
Right?
Yeah.
well, what made you go this route? That's what I wanted to ask you. What made you decide to go just all in on this?
Yeah.
So I was I I'd say 3.5 years deep almost into my college degree. And I just like, I had spent most of my college life, working, going to school, and just being really like miserable, honestly, the whole time, more or less. And I don't know. I was finally like 3.5 years in. I was like, when I graduate, I'm going to have this degree, but like, I feel like my life isn't going to change that much. Like I'll get a job, but like, I don't know. To me, it just felt very pointless because I just felt like I was going down a road and chasing down a dream I didn't really want. And I just figured, like, what's the point in doing this without even trying something else? Like if I have to do this, I have to do this. But, and so I was kind of just really depressed that year, honestly, because I was just discouraged. And I was sitting around in my house a lot at the time. And I was living in a really like rough-ish neighborhood in Jacksonville at the time. And I just remember it was just like, I don't know, a lot of times it was just kind of depressing out there. But then I decided to start streaming again. I had tried it 2 years previously, which would be back in, I guess, 2017. And I only maintained it for a month. And that was back when I just like was thinking in my mind, because my opinion on Twitch has changed a lot since I started, but I'll get into that later. Basically, at first I was like, okay, this is a video games platform. I play video games and like, engage with the people in chat, and that's how it works. And that didn't work for me back then because I was just doing too much. But this time around, I had some money saved up. I was finishing up my degree, and I was like, I don't have to work for a little while because I have all this money saved. So let me just try and stream for a little bit and see how it goes. And so I just kind of like, I took the stuff I had. I had like a laptop, a capture card for my Xbox, and just a pretty standard mic webcam setup. And I just started doing it, and I haven't stopped since. It's been almost a year now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was cool. Crazy because honestly, I was one of those, I don't know, this is almost like a trope, but like I did well in school, but I never really like felt any strong motivation for it. And I just hadn't ever felt a strong motivation for anything. I would try things out, just couldn't really follow through with them. But this was like something I actually followed through with, and I felt really good about that.
That's good. That's really good. Everybody has to do, everybody has to have that goal and that passion, man. And I'm glad you finally found yours. I mean, it took a while, obviously, but this is great. I mean, and what you do is fantastic. It's fun. Look, we've been doing this show for almost 9 years, and we love it. It's fun. It's what we do. We've both been in music. We've both done everything else in the world that we wanted to do. So why not? This is great.
A couple other things. Yeah, I got a couple other things on my list, but I'll knock them out.
You know what I mean? I mean, I have a few other things I would like to do as well, but I mean, as in, like, this, if we could really spawn this and make this bigger than what we are, fighting with the other assholes like, Rogan and things like that, I'd be great with that,
Yeah. I just find it amazing that we always meet interesting people.
Yes.
We get comments from all over the place, and I'm sure you do too. I mean, it's always fun when people they interact with you when you're doing something.
Yeah.
And it's always cool like that. And it's those type of mini interactions that I think, I don't know, it just adds something to it. It's because for a moment you're part of somebody else's life, which is so cool. And I just really dig that. That's what I like about doing this.
Yeah.
It's always cool. But you said you're a big music person. You like the metal, you like the punk.
I do. Yeah, I do. I used to go to quite a bit of metal shows, especially back in Jacksonville. We had a big metal festival every year there called Welcome to Rockville that I always got
very nice.
to. Yeah.
You
definitely a fan.
You're not on stage? You're playing an instrument?
No, I don't play any instruments at all. I actually just am a patron of the arts. I collect a lot of physical mediums of music because I like having something solid, So records.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. We see you have something in common there. Unlike our last guest who berated me for not wanting to download movies. he's a director. That's why.
Yeah. His thought was everything has to go streaming. There's no point of even buying anything tangible. And I was like, well, I agree and I don't agree at the same time. I kind of like the tangibility of having something like a record or anything like that. I think that's the way to go. Just, you can always download it and stream it, and listen to it. But in the same sense, you're holding that. That was a piece of history at one point in time you're holding. So I don't know. I dig it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. With the physical mediums of music. Yeah. So that's always been really important to me. And my dad was a huge record collector and just like a huge patron of music.
Same.
That's what I always tell people. I'm a patron. Always go to a lot of shows, buy a lot of merch, etc. But I don't play anything myself.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have
You've
all
got
kind of shit.
time.
Hey, yeah,
You're
you got
right.
plenty of time. You can learn, man. You can learn something. Like I was a singer, and Rum was a bassist, and he also does other stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool. You know, I've been like, as I've been streaming, I've gotten to a few little instruments here and there. Like I really want to learn to play the theremin because I want a really strange gimmick. Like one of the energy in my stream is very like surreal.
Yes.
And I just feel like that's a very surreal instrument to add to the production.
You know, it's funny.
is. That-
It was funny when you said you wanted to learn a weird instrument. The first thing that came to mind was the theremin. That's really funny.
Yeah, they're so strange.
They are. And if you get good at it, they're really awesome. Like if you can really get good at using it, they do some really, really cool things.
Well, there's a lot.
I think
There's a
Jimmy
lot of
Page
instruments.
Zeppelin used to play them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, and there's a lot of instruments like that you don't hear about being played much, anymore. Like, zithers and freaking harpsichords and shit like that. What's the one guy we talked to from Sunflower Dead?
Yeah.
Michael Del Pizzo. He plays a freaking accordion in his band.
Live.
Oh, that's great.
And it's a metal
And it's
band.
a metal
with accordion in
band.
it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like a lot of genres, and I used to go to this festival every year called the Swanee Roots Revival in Live Oak, Florida, and it was mostly bluegrass and bluegrass blues, that kind of thing.
Right.
A little bit of country, but more like old school style country.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one band there, I think it was I can't even remember anymore. The Corbett Brothers, and they had this harmonica player, and I swear he played the harmonica like it was like a metal riff or something. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
It was so cool. Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, people that can use other instruments that are odd like that just blow me away. Like some of those odd instruments to do, like we said, do some incredible sounds. Like what was the Sepultura did an album called Roots, and on there they used Brazilian beaten bows, which were like giant bows, and it's so cool how that sound is added into that album with all the like screaming and yelling, but they still use that. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, that's cool. You know, Les Claypool was the first live show I think I saw a few live shows before it when I was too young to remember, but the first like major live show I remember was going to see Les Claypool with my dad. And he's like very strange. So there's all kinds of weird stuff going on the stage.
Yeah, you were was it Primus or was it Les and his like weird stuff?
It was just, I think it was a Les project. It was, if I remember correctly, I think it was a Fungi and Foe was the album they were touring for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's really cool because I've seen Primus like 6 times, and I've seen he did a project in the mid '90s called Sausage.
Yeah.
It was with members of Helmet and like I forget who the other guys were, but it was like heavier bands that were in there, and it was so good. It was such a good show.
He's got a really interesting mind. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you know he tried out for Metallica?
No.
Yes. When Cliff Burton died, he went and auditioned for Metallica, and the funny story is that they were watching him play, and then they stopped and go, "Look, man, you're great. You need to go do your own thing because you can't, you don't fit with us, but you're awesome."
I feel like that's actually pretty good advice.
Yeah, because it would have been terrible if he would have been in Metallica. I think that'd have been an awful route.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine the freaking bass solos in some of those songs?
Cool, yeah,
ridiculous. Freaking 16-string basses. Just But last time I saw Les, he for apparently no reason, he had a jar of pickles on stage, and everybody's staring at this gigantic jar of pickles, and it was on a stool, and we were like, "What in the world? What is up with it?" They're like ignoring it, like it's there, and no one's saying anything about it. And then halfway through the show, he goes over and he goes, "I want to try a new song out for everybody." And he took the jar off the pickles, and he's playing the bass while slapping it with pickles. And they just started throwing pickles at people in the audience. It was just ridiculous show.
It was amazing.
But oddity in entertainment is the way to go.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
Definitely is. Do you think how? I mean, apparently you have a great response on what you're doing. What is your response to the people responding to you? How do you feel about that? I mean, has it changed you in any way? Are you there?
I don't think so, man.
Major, I know you can hear me.
He's having major issues.
Blink if you can hear me.
Blink. You're a fucking idiot.
Oh man, this storm! I tell you what.
It's a bad one, obviously, because it's fucking us up pretty bad.
He's a good guy. I'll say that. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. We're going to leave part of this in. Wayne will creatively edit some of it out. But if you get a chance, go find Major Grunge on Twitch, on all the social platforms. Make sure you check him out. We're going to try to get him back in here in just a second.
Yeah, just so you guys know, we're having some issues. Some storm is over at Major's house, and it's causing us issues with the connection. So we apologize, but, Mother Nature, we can't stop. So
that's right.
But yeah, he's a great dude. He's fun to talk to. He's got a great
good
channel.
Concept.
Good channel. You go check him out on Twitch.
All right. Sorry.
And he's back.
There he is, ladies
really
and gentlemen.
on the fritz right now.
It's okay. It's all right. We're not upset. We gave you a really good excuse. Yeah. So, Rum, you had asked him a question before he dropped off.
God, I can't remember what it was.
It was I think it was we were talking about oddity and entertainment, and you said something reception for what you've done, and then
I was curious on the response of the people to you. How has that changed you in your correspondence back and forth, or how's it changed you since you've been doing your channel personally, or as we talked about earlier, philosophically? How has all of this changed for you?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, just first of all, my approach to the platform, and like the way that changed as I like met people and crossed paths with people was like very much an interesting journey. So like I started out, just kind of streaming video games, doing the classic Twitch thing, and like doing it, pretty well. And I had this kind of idea at the time. I was like, I'm going to use this platform. I'm going to play video games, but I'm going to get into talking about all this like philosophy and stuff that I really enjoy, and I was like, that'll be kind of what I bring to it. That's different than other people. And I continued doing that, and a lot of people even like that. But after a certain point, I met this one British streamer named Clone Corp that was running this like really bizarre. It was like an audio-visual showcase during the week where you'd have all this like strange visuals, kind of like the stuff you'd see at a concert, but he was kind of making it on the fly with his streaming software. And then people would request songs, and he would kind of do stuff with it. But then and then on Fridays, he would do this really interesting show where he'd do like 2 different improv bits where he'd play these characters and do like a little segment. And then it would lead into this game show where he'd bring on like 6 other streamers, and they had this like really just strange kind of Adult Swim-y game show.
That's awesome.
And I thought that was so cool. Yeah, I was like, this is so amazing. This guy's doing something I've never seen before on this platform. And so I started hanging out with him a lot. And I went on the game show a couple times. I've been on there, I think now 3 times. And I just like, it kind of changed my entire perception of like what was even possible on Twitch and what was possible with live content. Mm-hmm. And so I like started morphing my stream in tiny ways after that, just adding like some more interesting scenes. And then now to where I'm at nowadays, I have like just hundreds of really like strange, bizarre scenes. A lot of them are really like, I call them like lovingly DIY. They look, they're not very like clean, but it's kind of absurd, and it has this like almost zine look to them, where I'm pasting different images and assembling characters like a collage, and then I turn it to like a setting for some weird plot line to unfold, and then I put on a costume and I do a voice, and we have these like little weird adventures.
Kind of an homage. I don't know if you meant it to be, but it sounds like almost a kind of homage to the things they were doing back with old Monty Python. In between the skits, they would do this cut and paste collage stuff and stuff like it. And that's cool, man. That's really a good way to go, I would think. I need to watch more of your stuff. I've heard a couple episodes of your show, your podcast that you've been doing.
Oh yeah.
What brought you to that point? I mean, you were doing the Twitch thing, and then you just decided, hey, let's start a podcast, or?
Well, so in the Twitch space, I'm actually doing pretty well on Twitch, but at the time I started the podcast and I'm still doing it. I would say I'm like in the middle of where like a lot of affiliate Twitch streamers are. So on Twitch, there's affiliates and partners, and partners are like the smaller percentage of streamers that have usually pretty large followings, and they have the little purple verified check,
Yeah,
sure.
But So I'm like middle of the road for affiliates. I'm doing pretty good, and I have a lot of room to grow. But I knew that I wanted to do more than just Twitch. And I mentioned whenever I like refer to what I do, I always like to say content creator versus like just Twitch streamer.
Right.
Sure.
Just because I want to do more than Twitch. So I was like, I need to start rolling out content on their platforms. And so I knew I wanted to do a podcast at some point. I'm like a big listener of podcasts in my own time. And I just love to talk. So I was like, this has got to happen. I just got to get it done. I just got to sit down and push it out. And so
cool.
I started doing that a few months ago, and I've been getting into a better and better rhythm in regards to like recording it and editing it and the like. And I just started doing YouTube versions of it as well. So I'm going to try and maintain those 3 streams, and that'll be good enough for me for now.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That's going to be a lot of work.
Sure.
It is. Yeah, it is. I'm sure you guys know. It's surprising how much work there is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Trust me. Yeah. It's a lot.
I spent 4 hours today doing a 6-minute segment. I mean, just freaking doing cut and paste and putting stuff together. It was ridiculous how much time it occupies. But speaking of occupying time, I mean, it keeps you busy, but does it keep you away from anything else? I'm sure you've got a significant other or anything.
Yeah. Actually, right now, my girlfriend's in the room with me. But so basically, my time split kind of goes like it's almost all devoted to content. But then I make sure that for the most part, so my girlfriend also works as a content creator. So
nice. That's
we, like,
awesome.
do work stuff when we're together, but most of the time we're trying to like save that particular moment in time just like for us. So because we can both have like a ton of notifications all the time, so we have to be like present, I guess, and kind of put the phones on do not disturb.
Sure.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of that for a little while.
If I were to ask your girlfriend, would she say exactly the same thing?
I think so. Although I will say we have moments where we're both checking our phones. But yeah, so that's basically. I mean, but honestly, like between the content and spending time with her, that's more or less how all my time is spent.
Nice.
And I try my best to catch up with old friends and stuff on the phone, but I mean, I just moved to this city, Nashville, so I don't even really know anyone here yet. And mostly I've just been working. And of course, everyone's had to stay inside here for a while, so
yeah,
I haven't really been able to go out and meet anyone either.
Yeah, that kind of sucks, man, because if you move to a new town and all of a sudden it's like, oh, guess what, everybody, you got to stay inside for like 6 months. What the fuck?
Nashville's an interesting town. I'm pretty familiar with it, and it's a great music town. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't believe me when I would tell them that Nashville is more than just country.
Oh, way more. That's actually why I moved here. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of music, and I knew I wanted to live in like one of basically 2 cities with just like a thriving music scene, right? And so the 2 options for me were Nashville and Austin, because I just wanted to be able to catch shows like all the time, ideally. And those were 2 of the cities where I knew I could make that happen. And but Nashville's near the mountains, and I love the mountains, so
that's
a good pull.
Because Wayne's in North Carolina, or Wayne's
I'm in New Orleans.
I'm in North Carolina, and I try to get to the mountains as much as I can. I absolutely love it. Grew up in the mountains.
We have inverted mountains here. They're
called
holes.
They're called holes.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Well, I grew up in the panhandle of North Florida and a little bit of South Georgia, and so I'm like, it's pretty swampy. I think it's probably the only state that has swamps like Louisiana. I mean, they're different kinds, but like we have them widespread.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, it's good times out here.
Is Nashville going to be? What are you thinking? I mean, are you thinking you're going to be there for a while, or is this just a stepping stone and you're moving through the United States? Or do you plan on doing anything outside of the country?
Yeah, actually, so who knows? I mean, realistically, I just kind of play it by ear. I definitely plan to live some other places. At some point, I want to live in Atlanta because there's a lot of the entertainment industries going there, and one of my big goals is to get an Adult Swim show at some point. So I'm really inspired.
That would be really fucking cool. Yeah.
And their studios are in Atlanta, so I figure when I feel like I'm ready to chase down that goal, I'm gonna move to Atlanta and like get it done.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, one of our friends who has been on the show a few times, and he's actually the art director and something else for Archer.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah. He went to, we met him through another one of our friends who actually draws for IDW, and they went to SCAD together, and that's how we all met together. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty cool guy, man, to have that connection.
Absolutely.
He says Atlanta's a great place to go, and
Yeah.
definitely if you want to get in that sort of thing, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. And Atlanta's, I mean, it's definitely a big city, but it's not like I feel like it hasn't reached the levels of saturation that like LA or New York have as far as people trying to do
True.
that sort of thing.
The
Oh,
hard
probably
part
cool.
is finding the next city. There's always a
Yeah.
city that's next.
Yeah.
If you can get on that, if you can get on that bandwagon before
Ahead
it
of
hits,
time.
good God, you've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Can
always
you
wonder
imagine
about that.
Atlanta? Can you imagine Atlanta 25, 30 years ago? If you would have been able to do what you want to do and get in there before the big boom hit?
Right.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Oh my gosh.
Or like when you know, before you knew Bill Gates before you made anything, and you got some of that money out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them shares on that. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can get it now if you want to spend $3,000-$4,000 a share, but before when you get them for like $2, that'd have been great.
Yeah, his is the only shit that isn't going down in the stock market right now.
Yeah. Right.
I've been hearing about that.
Stock market's been crapping, dude.
I don't really
Uh,
keep up with the stocks. I'm just like, I'm still like so kind of down to the wire as far as like money goes. You know, I'm paying my bills and paying everything I need to pay, but other than that, it's just like not much side money.
Yeah.
So stocks are
Don't-
like not even on my mind yet.
Don't invest.
Don't
man.
even worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay away from that shit. dude.
It'll be exactly the same by the time you want to get to it, if you want to get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't change. It's always the same fucking that thing with a different day on it. That's all. But yeah, let's not be grown-ups anymore. Let's do this.
God, I wish we could not be grown-ups. That would be the best thing in the world. God damn, man. I mean, just to be able to say, you know what? Fuck my job. I'm just going to sit on here and do this all day long. I don't give a shit. You know, it'd be nice, but, you know, feasibly it's
It's hard to
impossible.
make it work.
Right.
I mean, really
It is.
hard.
It's I'm not going to say by any means it's easier at any time, but it is. You have more freedom when you don't have things that have to hold you back.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Always.
And I mean,
Always.
it's
And
like we talked about earlier. It's just something that requires an insane amount of work. And so, like, you know, if you don't have a ton of other things pulling your attention away, you can actually commit that kind of work.
Exactly. Or you know, it'd be nice if you had a team to help you out. You know, like, okay, you just got to show up and record the content, and everybody else does what you want them to. That would be nice too, Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, I'm just
Well,
I'm being an idiot. I'm being silly about it. But, you know, I do respect Rogan for where he's at and what he's done. But I also don't respect him because, you know, the people who are having these huge shows, they were famous before they got a show.
Oh, that's
and,
true.
And that's why they
Yeah,
have
exactly.
so many people on there. The people who start from the ground up, we have to work our asses for this stuff. You know, if we want to be Rogan money, you know, or Rogan size, we gotta bust our ass for years before we can get even close.
Absolutely. Do you guys do other like streams? Like, you know, I know you do record the podcast. Do you do like YouTube as? Or,
We are actually getting ready to start launching into that stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
later on,
We've got the channel. We're starting to make more content for
Yeah.
YouTube. We got what's another one? Meta Cafe.
oh, we have so much crap. We're on fucking everything.
A couple other different things we're doing right now. But yeah, it's. I mean, we've got the time to do it. We might as well do it, right? I mean,
Well, and YouTube is really helpful for discovery. Just like YouTube is designed to like funnel eyes towards content, and so I think that can be really helpful. Like just to have multiple places where people can find you, and you'll likely see a lot of growth off of it.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
you just type in the podcast's name or Metal Hand of God or MHOG podcast, and we're everywhere. I mean, it's,
Yeah, I made sure we had everything like our major ones, of course, are like Spotify and iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
You know, we are on YouTube, but we only like just as of recently, we only drop one every like 7 days or so on there, and we put out more content on our on Podbean than it drops in YouTube because of the account reasons. I don't know. I don't understand it, but every episode doesn't drop on YouTube right now. You know what I'm saying?
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Well, I mean, and I don't even think you have to. You said once a week. I know that like
Yeah.
the way the YouTube algorithm works, as long as you're doing once a week uploads, they'll still recommend you.
oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. But
Yeah.
we're actually gonna start doing live streams. We're gonna do a live show maybe once or twice a month, and then we're gonna do some video stuff. You know, maybe some video lives, just to try. We're trying a little bit of everything to get out there. You know, do some more stuff.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
lots of good ideas. The paranormal thing that we're talking about, and
Right.
a bunch of other stuff we're doing, and so it's like you said, it's a business. It's what you do. It's what we do. It's what
Yeah.
we're all in it for. So
Yeah, we got to grow it.
hey, yeah, and if flipping back a page or two, just real quick, if you were to have stayed and done out that degree, where would you have been? Where would you have seen yourself?
I mean, I don't know that I could really, like, the thing that really started to bug me about it is I didn't know that I could see myself doing anything like that I was supposed to do with it. You know, I was like, I don't want to do any of that. And I had worked a few interesting jobs before that. So I got really into like the street fashion scene for a while. I worked as a stylist and a designer. And I did okay by that. And then I got into, I worked for the street artist who paints murals all over, the nation. And that was like super cool and enlightening just to like see that world. And once I had sort of dove into those like creative type worlds, I was like, I want to work in this business. Maybe I'm not going to be like the head creative or whatever, but I want to be involved in this scene.
Yeah, you probably did the right thing, man. I can see it because it's if we would have all spent more time being more creative when we're younger.
Yeah.
I think the I don't know, sometimes maybe the world would be in a better place. We're always so stressed out and always, like you say, geared to go.
Exactly.
Destiny's laid out. This is what I have to do. Bing, bang, boom. Go to school, get the job, get married, have a kid, die.
It's like an assembly line almost, where you're just like, it's very strange.
And you're missing out on everything, man. You've got to experience it all. Just you got to throw everything to the side and say, screw it. If you wake up one day and say, fuck, I want to move 2 states away, I'm moving 2 states away because I can.
Yeah.
And I want to. And I want to meet some interesting people, and I want to go see some interesting things. And, I want to see the other side, the stuff they're not showing me right in my face. I want to go behind the wall. I want to see what's back here. Oh, this is where the cool shit is. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. The undisclosed.
You're never shown the cool stuff in your face when you're walking down the streets. You got to find it.
No, you got to dig. You got to dig, man. It's like toy hunting or collecting something.
Yeah.
You got to find that gem.
It's finding the underground scene, the bands, the artists, the people that have a vision that aren't getting the opportunity to throw it out there. That's what it's about. It's finding that community and getting in there and making it happen, because those are always amazing connections and amazing friendships you can make that aren't just laid out in front of you.
Yeah.
But very cool. I think we lost him again.
Damn it.
But I was going off, man. I was amazing.
You were doing good. You're really good.
Good.
I agree. I agree 100% what you just said. But
I gave myself fucking chills.
I did. Me too. I was like shivering and like, it's hot as fuck in here. I was enjoying that.
There ain't no fucking air in this goddamn room.
Same here. Why do we go in the rooms that have no fucking air? And the Major is back with us. Hey, man. There you are.
We're
sure you
back.
can guess what happened.
Yeah, that's all right.
I did that amazing rant. I don't know where you cut off, but I gave myself chills.
Oh yeah.
It was so good.
It did.
Well, look.
It was good, man.
Since you come back, I do have an interesting question for you because I did watch you on a show on Uncle Joe's show on Twitch, and I do,
remember whether it was Uncle Joe's channel or whether. Or was it a side quest, Lost Souls with Uncle Joe?
To be honest, I have no earthly idea because my wife is the one who is hugely into Uncle Joe. She watches him every day, pretty much.
Right.
And I don't know what she was showing me, but I feel like an asshole saying that, but it's true.
No, that's fine.
I'm being honest. But I did watch you on it, and you did state something. He was stating something that you are a hugely into fashion.
Oh yeah. Okay. So this was Lost Souls then. Yeah. Definitely. I definitely am.
Okay. So, like, do you like? I just want to ask is like, do you like buy lots of certain things in fashion? Or, I mean, like, I am not into fashion at all.
Do you
like,
design? Do you create?
Yeah.
What is your thing?
Yeah, so I used to work as a designer and then a stylist before that. And I got into that field actually because I was just I had just quit a moving job that I just had too many injuries. I couldn't keep doing it, and I had to make money. And I figured out that you could like buy what they call them hype shoes or hype like street fashion pieces from brands like Supreme Off-White, etc. Basically, if you can get them for retail, it's very hard to get them for retail because they're limited release, and there's like a ton of people that want them. But if you can get them for retail, you can almost always resell them for a profit. Wow. And so when I learned about this, I like got into business doing that, and so I would resell Jordans, you know, like anything I could find that I could make a profit on, and a lot of it was fashion pieces, and I kind of got into the fashion scene as a result. And the more I did it, I was like, I kind of like this fashion stuff. You know, maybe I want to like study this. And so I found out a way to get an internship with like a boutique and get trained, you know, so that I could actually work in the industry. And I did. Cool. And I wouldn't ever spend a lot of money on expensive stuff because I didn't have the money for it. But I would go to thrift shops a lot and then take like the thrifted garments and kind of, you know, style them and like and put my own touches on them, whether it was like patches. I've been always really into punk rock, so you know I would make my own battle jackets, but I would try and put a little bit of extra flair on them. Yeah. I have a bunch of denim jackets. I like to put like rows of safety pins on the collars, just little things like that, where I'd kind of spruce it up and make it my own.
Well, remind me when later on, once we get our stuff in, we got some punk rock patches coming in. So whenever they do, I'll send you one, man.
Amazing! I would love that. Yeah, I'm always looking for some patches.
Yeah, we got some coming in with our logo and shit on it, so I'll definitely send you one. No, that's fucking cool, man. That's really cool. Like I would never have thought, you know, to get into something like fashion like that.
Man, that is a creative hustle right there.
Yeah,
that's what you call that.
Yeah, it is. It's actually pretty big industry as well.
Well, the shoe thing, I've within the last like 20 years or so, it's gotten huge.
Oh yeah, it's like, crazy.
Like there's a show on Disney Plus. I don't know if you've seen it with Jeff Goldblum's on it. He does his like little thing where he goes out and he does, you know, different topics. One topic, he talks about it. Well, one of them is shoe collecting, sneakers.
Yeah.
And he's like talking to these people that are in this like whatever looks like a damn it looks like a comic book convention for shoe people.
Oh yeah. Maybe Complex Con. That's one of the big ones.
Something like that. And man, this one guy has $40,000 in cash in his hands. And he's like, okay, I'm going to buy this whole table from you. How much would you do it for? The guy's like, 20 grand. Would you do 15? It's like, what the fuck?
It's amazing how much some of these shoes sell for. Like, it depends. You know, some of them, it's like, you only make a $60 profit on them. Then others, you could make literally $1,000 in some of these releases if you can get them for retail.
That's so crazy.
A shoe store in Spain, and we walked in. We were walking around. I said, "Oh, this is cool. What is this?" And you know, you just kind of wander around. You walk into a store. They had shoes on display like they were museum pieces behind glass. They had them they were in cubbies in the floor, and you could see the shoes in the floor. So you're walking around like there's shoes on the ceiling. They're in glass, and you're just walking around. It was all built. It was like, what am I looking at? You know, and Rusty was with us, and he was like, man, there's some expensive shoes in this place. I said, I don't know shit about shoes, dude. You know, I said, I know they're bright colored. Those are probably a couple $100. And the guy looked at me and he goes, this one here is $1,500. I'm like, for that? $1,500.
It's like,
is that for
like
both?
Art collecting, really. It's very similar, you know, where it's like a bunch of stuff will be like, you know, it doesn't look like special, but like to the person who knows about the piece or whatever, like a shoe, you know, just think about a shoe like an art piece. It's like, oh, well, this was made by, you know, X person collaborating with this artist, you know.
That's what it is. It's the special like edition, the special designs. That
blows me
away.
Know,
they make like maybe one or two of this print with this shoe, and it was like signed by so and so, and you're like, oh, wow.
It's like I don't even know who that guy is. Like, what the fuck? I don't know that person.
But Spain is definitely a place to go for fashion stuff, though. Good Lord, they had a lot of fashion stores.
Big time.
Amazing.
Big time.
Amazing.
So I'm just gonna ask, man. What's the most expensive shoe you've ever sold?
Probably I sold this pair of Air Jordan 4s made by this artist called Kaws, and it's Kaws, and they're like very strange looking. I don't know how to explain it. They almost look like they're made of like the tongues look like they're made of some sort of shag carpet, and then there's like this suede finish, and the soles glow in the dark. But they have this little Kaws print all over, and they had them in I think gray and black, and I got the gray pair. And sold it, and those resold for, well, I think at the time I resold them, I got about $1,300, but they might be going for a lot more now. I'm actually about to check just out of curiosity.
Jesus Christ, $1,300 for a
crazy.
pair of shoes, man. I bitch when I gotta pay $25 for a pair of shoes.
But yeah, I pay. You know, I think my cap on shoes is $400. That's what I pay. That'd be it for shoes.
yeah, no.
Oh, so apparently the size of them and size 9.5, and so the different sizes are worth different things. The last sale on a website for reselling sneakers, StockX, is $1,935 for these.
Oh, dude, God, you can buy. That's like house payments, man, for shoes.
I know. See, that's what it was helpful. And that was like to be clear, that doesn't happen very often.
Well,
But
no.
when it does happen, it's like I just pay my rent for like 2 months. You know, this is
Right.
nice.
That's awesome.
Especially because I was just so broke. It was like, oh, I could just like, suddenly get like fortunate enough if I'm good enough at this, and I'm presented with the opportunity to get something like this. You know, I can pay my rent for a little bit, and that allows me more time to pursue like whatever my business interests are. So I've always just been like, ever since I quit that moving job, I've just been like scrapping,
doing what you had to do.
pay the bills.
Yeah. But that's good though, man. I mean, that means you have drive. Most of the people these days have no fucking drive, and the only thing they do is drive me insane because all they want is everything handed to them. And no one wants to work for what they do, and you've been working for what you have ever since. And that's fantastic, you know? I mean, I know it's a pain in the ass, but I mean, at least you do.
But honestly though, I think it's I'm not sure. So recently on the last podcast, I talked about this one book that this anthropologist Sebastian Junger wrote called Tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a lot of things he argues in the book, but one of the main things he argues is that like human beings like actually do better when they're under some amount of stress. Like we were raised to be hunter gatherers, or you know what I mean? Like as a species, we've been separated from that. So we don't have to like struggle for much in our everyday lives. And his thesis is that actually is like not good for us. Like it makes us depressed. It makes us feel like we have no meaning. And like having a little bit of a struggle is actually like necessary by his thinking. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I can
I mean,
too.
that makes sense. I mean, there's, you know, the primal aspect or the primal feelings that we have are pretty much gone. I mean, at this point in time, it takes something like what's going on now to make people think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, where's my next check coming from? You know, where,
am I gonna do?
I was here, I just blew through my savings. What now? You know, the being practical with what you have doesn't exist at this point because most people lost it already.
Yeah, that's true.
So now they got to start again.
We're seeing a lot of, I think, interesting, just like societal change in this time right now. It's like you said, everyone's starting to call a lot more things into question too. You also just have people in general, like, I don't know, people are like getting a little wild at this point in quarantine. And so you have all kinds of, you know, I guess questioning of the system coming out, which I think is healthy.
It is. It is. You got to always question. If not, you're going to get railroaded at one point in time.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it's always the same thing. I mean, if you look back for you know, at the decades, it's always the same struggles. It's always the same struggles.
For sure.
And it's funny to think a lot of times people are like, well, this has, you know, this is different. This isn't the it's just the same shit. It's a different year. That's all it is. But you're right. People don't know how to struggle anymore because we're all about convenience. We're a convenience society. We're convenience for everything. If we can't call and order it and then bring it to us, we don't want it. You know, we don't want to have to go and get it. We don't want to have to make it.
And it's the same with like we always bitch about the music industry and saying that it's never these people these days, they just want one song to download and not worry about the entire album. You know, and that's another thing.
Actually,
wait, what?
I love albums. I love like listening to an album cover to cover. For me, that's like prime, you know.
Because it gives you that experience, man. It's like when me and Rum were kids, like we would always say, we used to go to the record stores or whatever, music stores or whatever you want to call them, and we'd go in there and we'd pick the record and we'd look at it because of the cover. Then we'd go and explore the whole thing. You know, it's like a story. You got to go through it.
Especially when the artist is really good.
Yes. And nowadays, no one even cares. They don't even give a shit what's on the cover. Most of the time, it's just a picture of the artist and his name. There's like no art into the music anymore. Like,
I will say though, I feel like the metal scene still is doing pretty good. Like you just have to dig a little deeper for it. But like, I mean, you know, for a lot of the stuff that's like notably, you know, released and a lot of stuff that's like doing well on Billboard for me isn't typically like my cup of tea. But if I like dig a little bit into like, you know, some metal or like punk, you know, punk scene like went through some changes, but there's still a very strong like DIY punk scene that's making like really good records.
Yeah. Again, another thing. Remind me some stuff after we get out of here. I got a lot of stuff to send you. Some music and stuff from bands out here. We'll give you some.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Give you some new stuff.
And locally, there's always some really interesting local talent too. I mean, and I just love one thing I always enjoyed being raised in Tallahassee, Florida. They had a big like DIY music scene. Is since there was like no restrictions on what they could create, they didn't have a label, nothing. You know, they like
right.
They just did some really interesting stuff, and it wasn't always good, but it was always different, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and that's good though. I mean, it's got to keep the scene thriving some kind of way.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times, like the bands that break through and do really well learned like some part of their sound from like some local band that never really became known or anything. But like
100%.
You know what I mean?
And it influenced them at some point in time. Though that's the cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's this like I don't know. It's all I feel like it's all kind of a musical like dialogue that plays out in a lot of places that most people don't think to look. And I just think that's neat.
Yeah, I agree. It's very cool.
Well, a thing that you should really keep with, though, I'm feeling, though, if you haven't, is you should keep with that design thing too, man. I think you know, if you got an eye for it and a passion for it, man, keep doing it.
Yeah,
keep going for it.
When Uncle Joe brought me on that show, he told me he wanted to talk about fashion. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I actually haven't gotten to talk about fashion in a while. And after that, everyone from my stream was like, we need to do some like more shows where you talk about that. And I was like, really? Like, you guys want to hear that? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, like I'm down.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's all interesting stuff. I mean, you know, obviously you have a good eye for it. You know, I mean, I couldn't put a fucking outfit together to save my life. I'm just a t-shirt and shorts kind of guy, you know?
Fashion is a tangible art form that, it's usually timeless, man. It's an expression of yourself, and it's such an interesting way to convey emotion and your thoughts without saying a word. Is just what you have on.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Just the way, and it makes you feel good about you, and it changes the room when you walk into it with people around you too. So it's always cool to be a little bit creative in the style.
Oh yeah.
I always talk about like how we all kind of wear a uniform as a society, and we have our ideas of what uniforms are, but then everyone else has a sort of uniform as well that maybe tells you a little bit of something about them. Yeah, and that is significant.
Wayne, what are you wearing right now?
I'm wearing a band by the name of Dang Brow Eyes t-shirt and a pair of shorts.
See, even that, I think, I mean, because the fact that you're wearing a band shirt is that is a little personal touch in and of itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm wearing a yellow Speedo and sunglasses. I mean, what do you say?
I say, wow, that's a terrible picture. But anyway.
I think it's bold. I will say it's bold.
It's bold? Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was going for, bold.
One last question, man, before we cut out of here is, I read that you were doing a book? Or you have a book?
Yeah. Honestly, still very much in the early stages of that. So like I'm definitely working on writing. I've always been really into writing and reading literature and the like. So I don't know exactly what I want to create. I initially had set out to write something that was more businessy as part of kind of my overall content creation business. It's like I also have this ebook, that I've written that's useful and provides value and then I can sell, like to have a product.
Sure.
But the more I think about it, the more I think I want to write something. I mean, I'm a huge fan of a lot of I guess writers from the beat movement. I was really into that growing up, and like William Burroughs, and then I got really into Hunter S. Thompson in college, and he's like my guy now. And so I'm really inspired by the kind of stuff he does, where it's like it's kind of nonfiction, but not really.
Right.
And that's I think maybe I'll figure out something like that. But I'm about to go on the road next week. I'm going out west just to journey around and to work with some people on Twitch.
That's fucking cool.
While I'm doing that, I'm going to try and get a little bit of a road narrative inspiration, maybe.
Very cool, man. Very, very, very cool. Well, dude, look, you're always welcome to come back on this show, man. Anytime you want to.
Awesome. Awesome. I really enjoyed it. It was super cool.
Yeah, we had a good
time.
time.
Sorry, my computer's on the fritz. It's a pain, I know.
It happens, dude. It happens. It's no big deal. But before we get out of here, make sure you tell everybody on here where they can find you.
Right. So, my main platform where I stream at least 3 days a week is twitch.tv/Major Grunge, all one word. I also have a podcast on all platforms now, including YouTube, called Grunge versus All of Reality. YouTube Major Grunge, and Twitter Major Grunge. I'm relatively active on Twitter as far as, just like kind of conversating. And I'd say those are the best ways to find me. I'm on Instagram as
cool.
well, but I don't use it as much. So
Cool,
Very, very
man.
cool.
Well, again, man, thank you so much for jumping on the show and hanging out with us. And it was super cool to have you on. And like I said, you're always welcome back anytime you want to.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, it's truly been a pleasure talking with you as well. Thank you.
I was your host,
All right.
Wayne.
I'm the Rum Guy.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to keep it metal!
Adieu, adieu, parting is such sweet sorrow.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Get the fuck out!
Okay then. That's it.